Welcome to the Common Man Sports Show. I am your host, Nick Antonianis, along with my co-host, Mike Marole, Jackson Warren, and Owen Duran. And we got a very special guest with you for us today, creator of SMSports on TikTok and on Instagram, and my good friend, Mr. Santino Mayoni. Tino, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Excited to get into all the NBA topics we got today. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, we got a very good amount of basketball to talk about today. There's a lot of news that happened, so we're going to just get right into it. The first news that we want to talk about today. So, if you guys may not know, the whole situation about basically John Morant came back and then just left immediately, pulled an Aaron Rodgers while he's just grabbing the flag during 9/11. There's an announcement that came out today or the other day that John Morant is undergoing season-ending surgery for a torn labrum in his shoulder, so his season is done, and most likely the Memphis Grizzlies are going to be getting that lottery pick. They're already going to get it because they started off really poorly. But Owen, I'm going to give you this. What's your overall opinion about this John Morant injury and what's going to happen going forward for this Grizzlies team?
Yeah, I was extremely disappointed when this news came out. The Grizzlies are one of the hot up-and-coming teams in the league this year. They have been for the last 3-4 years now. And their season this year has been a disaster. They started it without John Morant for the first 25 games because of the whole gun situation. Steven Adams was injured to start the season, so they were already forced to make a change, moving Jaren Jackson from power forward to center, which he struggled at so far this season on the defensive end. So I was extremely disappointed to see the news because their team has been crippled this season. We've seen they only had 6 wins before John Morant came back. John Morant started 3-0 to open, so we saw exactly how impactful he is for this team. So it's extremely disappointing. I thought that they were going to make a push and secure a top 6 seed and make the playoffs. I thought with John Morant, they're going to show those glimpses of amazing talent that they have. But that's not going to happen this season, obviously. But I also think it's kind of a blessing in disguise for them with the number of injuries they have. Brandon Clark, Smart, they've already missed time this year. Steven Adams, he's out for the entire season. Same with John Morant. Their season's not going to go well at all. They're going to be one of the bottom 5 teams in the season. They're going to be a lottery team, which isn't all that bad. I think if they've shown that they're a good team in the draft. They found Brandon Clark late. They found Xavier Tillman late. They picked up Jaren Jackson, John Morant, number of talent through the draft. So I think if they can secure a top 5 pick, top 10 pick even, and add that to a team that's already finished in the top 3 multiple times, they're just adding more talent to an already talented roster.
I don't know if I'd say it's a blessing. I understand where you're coming from with the blessing in disguise aspect of getting that top pick, but this is a team that I feel like you want them to start getting some more playoff experience with Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant, Desmond Bane, a lot of these guys being on the younger side. Obviously, the injuries are going to prevent that, but in some ways it is a blessing in disguise. But in that sense, I think that not having that playoff experience again this season could potentially hurt them in the long run. Again, John Morant's super talented. When he came back in these 9 games, he averaged, I think it was 25 points, 8 assists, almost 5 rebounds a game. The guy, the minute he steps on the court, he's one of the best point guards in the NBA, one of the best young talents in the NBA, and not having him is definitely going to be a detriment to the team. But I did want to mention the fact that if you're not going to get this postseason experience compared to other teams like the Clippers or the Denver Nuggets, who are going to be on the rise, Minnesota Timberwolves, who have really, in my opinion, not come out of nowhere, but have shocked me being the number 1 seed in the West, a young team like that getting experience now will make things tougher for Memphis going down the line for the fact that they're not making the playoffs this year.
I think you have a point there. I definitely agree. But I would say the counter to that would be Memphis has already picked up experience in the last previous seasons. And a team like the Timberwolves, who you could compare to them as a younger team, haven't had any. So I think the Grizzlies are already ahead of schedule if you look at that.
I feel like it's like a double-edged sword, but which one is going to hurt the most for the Grizzlies at this point? Like, they just, let's just say, like, what it is. Like Owen said, like, when they got John Morant, they were pretty much, now I'm not going to say unstoppable, but they were better with him on the court than him off the court. And those games with him off the court did a huge damage for them to get a lottery pick this upcoming draft. And for him to get like a shoulder injury, which is, to me, is like terrible, because I'm like in my mind, like how did this like happen? It was like nothing like graphic, but at the same time, it gives everybody like enough time to heal up for the next upcoming season. Like everybody can look up towards the next upcoming season. But at the same time, you wanted to see these young players develop better in playoff mode, not in regular season mode, because there's a whole not new, but like a whole difference between regular season and then playoff season, everybody's season. So when you get that experience, it's gonna help out. Yes, like you can have like 2 times you went to the champion, like not the championships, playoffs, and you have that experience. But would you rather have like, maybe the first round, you're gonna suck, those 4 games, it's gonna suck. Maybe you're gonna lose, but that's gonna be experience over not going to the playoffs and experiencing without a game with John Morant and experiencing games without this, like without the injuries. Because to me, I feel like right now, this is a perfect time for who's going to step up. Our boy's gone. The dog is gone. Him is gone. Like, he had the it's over. Who's stepping up? Bane can step up, but I want him to do a little bit more. Just take a little bit. Everybody should take it up a next notch.
I agree.
To me, if it's just me, we're already losing. Do something that you have been practicing. Try that. It's not working. Go back to your game. Try something different. If I'm the organization, if I'm a coach, we're trying something new. We're trying something different. Because you should not work on one person to be your main source of winning games. Because that's not winning you chips. In my opinion, that doesn't win you chips. That wins you games. Close games when it comes down, but if you can't win as a whole organization without one person, that's weak.
Jackson, I do. Before Nick and Mike jump in, I was going to say this. Talking about Desmond Bane having to step up more, the dude's averaging almost 25 points a game this year. Desmond Bane has stepped up his game a lot, and I understand that he's going to have to do more for them to win some games without Ja, but I think we got to give Desmond Bane some credit.
I'll give him credit, but now that your boy is gone, can you get some more? And this is just in my mind. If you are a basketball player, it's like, all right, if I'm scoring 25 points, what am I not doing? If I'm not doing my assists, maybe I could get more assists.
Yeah, playmaking, defending.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you try your best. You're in the NBA, goddammit. All you guys started benching, you guys are making a meal. All right, starting benching is like you're making a meal. You're living the best dream. All right, you guys should start, working on some stuff. Not laying back saying, "Yo, I got a game. We got work. We got whatever." No. This is a team that it's like they're missing like a piece. Just like how I can say it, like the Nuggets, like over the years, they were just plotting people, right? Just working out who is going to be their glue. They just need to find their just missing pieces and then work with it and then surround their missing pieces with people who are like, that can, like, if they're out and they sub them in, Grizzlies looks nasty. They look like Grizzlies. Bears. Not Cubs anymore. Bears.
So the only thing that I can really say, I'm actually going to agree with Owen here. It is a blessing in disguise because here's my take right here. During draft night, the Grizzlies do a very good job. They got John Morant, which they did very well on, and they got Jaren Jackson, who is a great player for them. They got some stars right there. So I wouldn't feel worried going into the NBA draft knowing that the Grizzlies are going to have a lottery pick and they're going to get that really good pick because they're very smart of what they decide to go for what's good for their team. Yes, it does suck to know for the fact that a lot of these players are injured. You had this expectations that Ja was going to play the rest of the season, and then Steven Adams was going to come back healthy, and Marcus Smart was going to play more minutes. But at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those situations where, yes, this was a little bit of a throwaway season. It already started at the beginning. Ja was out for the first 25 games of the season. Now he's out for the rest of the season. Come back more strong next season, knowing that you have that pick, and you'll come back and it'll be fine. It was the exact, I know this is a random comparison, but it's like the same thing with the Golden State Warriors back in the 2019-2020 season. Everyone was injured. Steph Curry was out for the entire year. Clay was out for the year. and then they go out there and they get James Wiseman. I know he didn't really play a crazy amount. He did get traded immediately, but still, they got that pick, and then boom, 2 years later, they were now NBA Final champions.
Nick, they got that pick, but the Grizzlies are gonna have to do a lot better than James Wiseman do because now.
I'm just saying, like they got a pick, and I know that James Wiseman was not what anyone expected, but I'm just saying, like, they'll have that top pick, use that for future potentials, and then they can push for that playoff spot. That's kind of like what I was kind of like expecting. So
I'm going to go on the flip side. I'm going to agree with Tino about adding playoff experience because they made that Marcus Smart trade for a reason. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I'm not a huge basketball fan, but I remember when the Grizzlies were in the playoffs, I forgot who they were playing. They were like the baby team,
it was the Lakers last year in the first round. Yep.
So I want to compare to hockey too much, but like they're like my New York Rangers like 2 years ago when they're in the playoffs. They're seen as the kids line, like the baby team. They need more playoff experience. So I would say full throttle on regaining assets. If not, do what you want. But I more feel bad about John Morant. Like, this is a guy. What was it? Twice that he flashed that gun and got suspended for that? Or was it just one time?
2 times with the flashing of the gun, and then he had a
we don't need to worry about that. We don't need to worry about that.
So that happens twice, and then this stuff happens like immediately when he comes back from that. So you got to feel bad for this guy. This is a guy who's right behind Zion Williamson. He's right to have RJ Barrett in that draft. So now, like, you don't know who's going to be. Remember that everyone thought that was going to be the best draft class. Now,
it's like, now turned out that way.
I mean, I still think it's the best, like, out like the 3. Like,
I take Ja every day of the week.
I'll take Ja every day, but like, let's just keep it a buck. If Zion Williams can like keep off the beignets and the gumbo, and I know it's spicy gumbo. It kills sometimes. It kills, and a lot of people love it. And the crawfish,
Cajun chicken,
and he starts putting in weight. I'm just saying, he can be a little bit better than Shaq, and I know that's right, out of pocket.
Oh, Jack, no.
Yeah, that's a terrible take.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
No.
Jackson, I know you're just saying, but don't just say. Like that's my mouth. Like, don't just say.
Yeah, maybe he could be like Zach Randolph, but I wouldn't go as far as say he'd be close to Shaq.
Yeah, maybe Greg Oden.
Zach Randolph 2.0. What are you talking about Shaq? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, that's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. At the end of
the day, Shaq needed help.
Well, Kobe needed help.
He went to the NBA Finals with the Magic. He beat the Bulls.
That's true.
Come on, listen.
I told you. Look, when we talk about this stuff, it's gonna be maybe a home run or it's gonna be like left field. Like,
Nick, you gotta take this. Nick.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Because you know why?
But Jackson,
you know why? It's gonna be randomly. We're gonna have this conversation like a couple years down the lane, and all of a sudden it's like Zion's like what, top 5?
Shaquille O'Neal's a top 10 player in history.
What do you mean top 5? What are you talking about?
Not top 5. My bad. Top 10.
Top 10. I can.
He's dyslexic.
Yeah, Tino. Just so you know, he's dyslexic.
Yeah, you gotta let him know.
Bro, how do you top 10? Top 10.
Jackson,
you guys don't believe. Wait. You don't believe that Zion Williams, if he's able, and I'm saying
Zion Williams, first of all, second of all.
Wait 1 second. If he could get his weight down, and starts, acting
I can get my weight down. What does that mean? I'm gonna be a top 5 NBA player? What are we talking about?
I'm saying actually know how. First of all, can we look at what he like? If we could pull up a clip of this brother, he doesn't look like he looks like a football player. He doesn't look like
realistically, there's only 2 players in the NBA that could be top 10 potential. If we're being realistic, there's only 2 players in the league currently with top 10 potential. And that would be Luka and Jason Tatum.
Yeah, that are already top 10.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm saying could be in the future.
Yeah.
All time wise, like that would only be Luka and Tatum, and they're so far removed from that conversation.
And Giannis.
Giannis potentially, yeah, Giannis, and maybe Jokic. But to say Zion?
I still have faith.
Has he even played 70 games in a single season?
I don't think so. He hasn't.
In my mind,
I think in his All-Star season, maybe in his All-Star season he did. I'm not
Zero
too sure.
All-NBAs, maybe a couple All-Stars. That's all he has going for him right now.
No,
he's not even a Hall of Famer.
That's what I'm saying.
He's not because
I'm like, he might not make the Hall of Fame.
He's chugging how much weight?
But that's
how much weight can you chug back for?
He's always been chucking weight, though.
He
He
was
came
getting
into the
hurt
league at
before he put
260.
on all the Bayou weight. He was getting injured before that. Zion,
Yeah,
dude,
he was 260 entering
I'll
the
say it
league.
right now, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer.
Well, he's had a history with injuries. Remember that play in Duke that he just ripped off his shoe and then he had that knee injury right there?
Yeah.
Forget about top 10, Jackson. Forget about top 20. Forget about top 50, all 70. Forget about any of that. This dude will not be a Hall of Famer.
What did I say in the beginning? I told you. Some of the stuff that is going to come out of my mouth is not going to be a home run. Some of it is going to be a ding to left field. Foul.
This is my first time seeing. I got to get used to it, though. My first time
used to it. You got to get used to it. You got to get used to it.
I want to get back to the Grizzlies really quick. I just have one final question for the Grizzlies, for Tino and Jackson. Because you guys disagreed with me saying it was a blessing in disguise. So I'm just wondering, what do you think pushes them forward? What pushes them closer to a championship? A little 4-game series in the first round, or adding a top 10 talent in the NBA draft?
I agree with you that a top 10 pick would absolutely move them forward. That's not what I was arguing. What I was arguing is the fact that if the reasoning of why the Ja Morant injury is so bad is because, listen, if they made the playoffs without Steven Adams, say Brandon Clark comes back from injury, Marcus Smart comes back from injury, Triple J, I know he's been in and out a little bit. Like, if they're if they're decently healthy without Steven Adams, they would have made at least the second round, in my opinion. They could have gotten to the 5 seed, the 6 seed. They would have made it to the second round, and they would have put up a fight in the postseason. To me, that would be more valuable because you'd be making the playoffs with the team that you have built around right now. And as Mike said, you traded for Marcus Smart for a reason, to get to the playoffs. That's why this injury is so detrimental, where, yes, you might get a pick out of it, but I think the playoffs would have been more of a benefit to them.
Yeah, I could definitely see that for certain guys like Bane and Jackson, who are behind Ja, being able to be in that number 1 and 2 role. But I think a big problem with the Grizzlies is they don't have a solidified second option next to Ja Morant. I know Jaren Jackson and Bane are supposed to be the 2-3 behind him. But in my opinion, I just don't think Triple J has it in him to be that all-star caliber player.
Do you watch college basketball at all, or not really?
Do you believe that Triple J doesn't have it now, or like he just needs to develop more? Or
I don't think he'll have the offensive skill set.
I think Desmond Bane does.
Right.
When you're talking about
Desmond, Bane definitely could, but he's a bit limited. He's a 3-and-D kind of player, and the most impactful 3-and-D player we've seen in history is Klay Thompson. So if he can get to that type of level, maybe. But other than that, I don't.
Bane still puts up buckets, though. You're calling him a 3-and-D player. Dude can finish at the rim. He has a mid-range jumper. Yeah, again, he averages 25 a game.
Klay Thompson was a good scorer in his day too.
Yeah,
as a 3-and-D player. But I'm saying if Desmond Bane to be that second caliber kind of guy next to Ja Morant, he would have to be on a Klay Thompson level for it to turn into a championship. You're asking him to be one of the best at this type of skill set.
That's true.
I'll just ask him, can he go on a couple of streaks without Ja? Can he give me 5?
Yeah.
Can he just give me 5?
I mean, he had a couple 40-point games. He had a couple 30-point games, but they weren't turning into wins.
Yeah.
And then you got to ask yourself after that, you're like, hey, how many wins can we go on? And if they could keep on doing that, like, you can see the progress in the team. If you guys can't get like 5-0 run going, there's something up.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's something up.
They beat the Suns the other night, so that's a good win for them. They have talent, regardless of Ja Morant's there or not. They have talent on the roster. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
I personally think Triple J is special. I think he's a great player. And obviously Ja is just a natural, because and then you're mentioning with Desmond Bane, he has potential to be possibly the next Klay Thompson even. But we're going to go into our next question, our next topic talking about. So I think it was announced today or it was last night. Miami Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra has just agreed to an 8-year extension worth $120 million. Jackson is already getting prepared for that Miami Heat. And then also we got an announcement that Kawhi Leonard also signed an extension. We don't even know what the contract is. They just said he just signed an extension, but we're going to mainly talk about the Eric Spoelstra. So, Jackson, you're the Miami Heat fan. What was your overall reaction to this announcement?
You're muted, buddy.
You're muted.
I just wanted to say, shut up, Mike. Thank you. Though. I just want to say, at first, I was screaming my head off. I was screaming. Not like really, really screaming, but I'm like, yeah, what deserves to happen for all? I need him. Because without Spo, let's just keep it $150. If true Heat fans will know, without Spo, we ain't shit. Period. Yeah. Without Spo, we ain't. We can have a coach, maybe just like him, a clone of him. We need the real deal. We need Spo, and having him for how many years is it? 6 or 8?
8 years.
8
years. Woo! 123 million?
Just 120 flat.
120 flat? Oh, 120. Oh, you know what? Whatever. My bad. At the same time, I'm like, we could maybe like hold on to a couple of bucks, just a couple, because we might need it for the off season and these upcoming days of people trading. That's all I gotta say. Just a little bit away.
I think he deserves the money. Give it to the man. He's made 6 NBA finals in his career, 2 of them post the LeBron James post LeBron James. And to do it, listen, I love Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Buckets, my guy. I don't want to disrespect him, but like you said, Jackson, if Eric Spoelstra is not the coach of this team, the Miami Heat do not make it in 2020 in the bubble, and they do not make it this past year when they ended up playing the Denver Nuggets. They just don't. Eric Spoelstra has a way of being able to make not even just in-game adjustments, but within a series, he knows how to adapt and adjust to what the other team is doing. He knows how to take away the other teams. It's almost like Bill Belichick. He's able to take away what the other team does well and what they're able to do best. And that's what really speaks to his mindset and his IQ of understanding the game and understanding how to utilize the players that he has in the system that he has. Guys like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, who are great offensive players, don't shine on defense. And he has the ability to understand how to hide them on defense and still be able to help his team play solid defense without those guys getting exposed. So those are examples of just what a great coach he is. And, I didn't even mention this. He is a 2-time champion. He won in 2012 and 2013 when they had the big 3. So I think you give him the money, 8 years, 120. He's definitely deserving of it. I have no qualms about this whatsoever.
Jackson, we cannot hear you. You're good.
Yo, you guys good?
Go ahead. You're good.
Good. All right. I know what I did wrong. All right. So I'm gonna say he won 2. I think he won 3 because he was also with the team when
D Wade and Shaq.
Yeah, because he was.
I believe Pat Riley was the coach at the time. Then
he wasn't the head coach.
He wasn't the head coach though. But yeah. But he won. But in my mind, like I could go back and forth with this. I feel like Spo is like a true fan of the game and how the fans feel and how we get into it. I feel like he's the same way. You can see him. His reactions are true like a fan of the Miami Heat. Our hearts are just right here. Every time we go in the fourth quarter, we can be leading by 15, and then we will just the team will come back by like 10 out of nowhere, and then Spo will be like, all right, let's go. Let's try to do this. And then we'll either win the game or we'll lose it by like 10 points or 5, whatever. But he actually goes in. If something doesn't work, just like a tweak, even if it's off of a win, he could say, great game, but like we can do a little tweak. We were off here and then. But he will tweak it next game. You'll see in the net, like if it's like Orlando. Let's say Miami lost. Let's say their defense was off that game. Spo with next series they play with them. Maybe the defense switches off. Maybe Bam is off, and then we get who's it? My God, we get Robertson. Something stupid. Something like not stupid, but like actually like when you look at it, you're like, okay, this makes sense, but like why? And then they win that game. They're like, oh, shoot, okay, maybe Spo saw something that we didn't see. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think Miami needs to still have him as a coach. He's still, to me, he's Hall of Fame worthy already, hands down. There's no case about it. And I'm so happy for him. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. For me in Miami, I mean, it's gonna be crazy for what we do in the next upcoming years. I don't know. My heart is it's on this roller coaster. I mean, Owen over there, he's easy chilling with this friggin', we're going to the playoffs, you know. We just have to relax before the playoffs, no injuries. Over here, every time we go in the fourth quarter, heart attack. I swear, like this close, having heart attacks. This close.
Yeah, no. As a Celtics fan, I definitely hate seeing Spoelstra sign an 8-year extension. It just means 8 more years of having to deal with him in the playoffs because he's vital to their success. Guys, I know Duncan Robinson was already mentioned, but like guys like Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, these guys who underperform on other teams and get cut and released from other teams just flourish on Miami. Every year, there's somebody new who just comes out of nowhere and lights up teams in the playoffs and makes a huge impact and wins them the series. And that's all because of Spoelstra. At the end of the day, we have to give it to him. And I think he's so deserving of the contract as well. Starting out in the video room, working his way basically from the ground all the way to the top with Pat Riley the entire way. He's more than deserving for the money. And I don't think Miami is a team that's short of cash. I don't think this will deter them from spending over the luxury and going into those.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that right there. I don't know why I said that. I was like, wait, maybe I got the numbers wrong, but go on. I got the numbers
right.
it
won't push them away from spending money. And even then, they're not a team that necessarily needs to spend money. They have Jimmy Butler on a nice max contract, Bam Adebayo on a heavy contract as well. But other than that, everyone's on relatively team-friendly deals. But yeah, so for the Heat, it's great. For the rest of the Eastern Conference, it's not great. They're going to have to deal with the Heat for another 8 years, and that's that.
But the rivalry between Miami and Boston, this is like we're gonna go at each other every year in the playoffs. Like I feel like it could go one way or the other every year. Even though I'm like Miami could be the number 1 seed or Boston could be the number 1 seed, it could flip flop any year. And it's perfect, and I love it because it's like old school basketball. Because you know it's gonna be a dogfight. You know somebody's gonna be in somebody else's face. It's talking mess. You know it's going to happen. You as a fan, you're like, this is what games are supposed to be about. Like dogging it out to the last second, not like 2 quarters, we're up, and then the other team, just like stays down. No, they like Miami, they come back. I don't care what you say about another team. They even if they're down by like 25, they will try their best to come back in a certain way to give the fans what they're there to see them to perform. And that's what Boston does, and that's what Miami does. And anytime they mix up, it's box office worthy. It's gonna be a show. It's going to be a show. So I'm ready for this upcoming years with Boston. It's gonna be a hell of a ride. It's going to.
Are you actually ready?
I'm ready. Look. I don't care. I don't care. Game 4, 5, 6, 7. Miami is going to win them. I don't care. I don't care.
Unless you're against Denver, which Miami's
going to struggle. Miami needs to make a change. Jackson, do you not think Miami needs to make a change before the deadline? You had the Celtics added Drew Holiday and Kristaps. You had the Bucks. They added Damian Lillard. You have Tyrese Maxey flourishing on the Sixers. The Magic are turning out to be a great team. Paolo is one of the best players in the East. Do you think the Heat are the safe?
Oh, he's taking off the glasses. Oh.
I don't think the Heat are in this position.
I don't care about a slug. I don't care about them. He's having a great career.
You should care about them, Jackson.
Yeah, I think you definitely should care about them.
I do.
Oh, them boys in Orlando are gonna come for you, bro.
Yeah, I think you were kind of grouping Miami in with the Celtics and Bucks when you're kind of not right there. You're below them.
You know what's going to happen? And I'm going to say this. I'm going to manifest this. All right. I'm going to use this new word that I found with these white girls saying on TikTok, manifesting shit. All right. So the manifest. Miami's gonna lose a couple games to these teams that you guys talk about. Then you guys are gonna hit me back on. Oh shoot, Miami's not looking too good. Miami comes into playoffs and we beat them. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
And I pulled up the standings to back up our point here. Miami's 21-15, so is Indiana, so is Cleveland, and Orlando's 21-16. They're all separated by no games or half a game. I would take the Indiana Pacers offense. I think they would run roughshod over Miami right now with Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah. I think that Cleveland is honestly the worst out of those three, I think, right now. I think Orlando's better than Cleveland. I think that Paolo Banchero and their depth they have of Suggs, Cole Anthony, Anthony Black, all these different guys on it, Mo Wagner, Franz, the Wagner boys.
Brothers, yep.
Yeah. Orlando is a force to be reckoned with this year. I'm telling you, Miami's not safe. Plus, you got New York, Philly, Milwaukee, and Boston to deal with as well.
Yeah, I see.
It's funny when you mentioned that standings. Last week's show, I pulled up the rankings. There was like 6 teams tied for third place. One loss that would have dropped all the way down.
They're always too close like that.
But I got a question: are those teams ready for a dogfight?
But
for the playoffs. Some of these teams are now
this offseason.
Every single one of those teams are super young, and they are itching to get into the playoffs.
And they made improvements.
All right, let those puppies run. Let those puppies run.
One of them made improvements.
While y'all got Triple J 1.0 Jaime Jaquez Jr., these teams are out here making moves, making trades, making signings. What have y'all done?
Yeah, I think the Heat are in for a rude awakening.
I'm sizzling a little bit. I'll tell you guys
to make something. He has to do something.
They gotta do something.
Yeah,
I'll tell
Jackson,
you guys that.
You sat around all summer waiting for Dame to come around, and he never came. You made zero improvements other than Jaime Jaquez. That's only addition you made this offseason. You lost Max Strus. You lost Gabe Vincent.
Owen,
Caleb Martin didn't even
talk
perform
about
as well in
right
the finals.
now. That's a sensitive topic. All right,
it's relevant. You're saying that you're on the same level as these teams, but you failed to make any improvements last summer.
And you lost Gabe Vincent. You lost Max Strus. You lost multiple guys from last year's championship team.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. Some way, somehow. That's
the take. That's the take. Some way, somehow.
That's
it. You guys can say no, it doesn't happen. I could just pull up last year because that was just off of like everything that Miami Heat stand for, the culture, the drive, blood, sweat, tears, everything.
Heat culture, man. Heat
culture, man. It is different. It's a different flavor. Once another player comes on to this Miami Heat team, something happens. Something a little bit, just you get a boost. It happens. Pat Riley sees shit, Spo sees shit, and he knows the bits and pieces where people should go. Now, am I scared of these teams? No, I'm not. It's gonna be a dogfight.
I'd be scared.
Me as a fan. Come on, some of these freaking playoff games are getting a little bit doesn't make me go, oh shoot. Wait one second now. We might go into overtime, ladies and gentlemen. I want to see that. I want to see some old school. I want to see people get into people's face about to knock somebody out. All right, I'm not talking about Miami. If that takes it,
did you not see the Grizzlies versus the Lakers where Dylan Brooks was literally like attacking LeBron James? Not just trash talking. Dylan Brooks is a piece of shit overall. I mean, he was just like
he talked to Unk. He talked to Shannon Sharp. They were about to get it on. I want to see that. I want to see that as a look.
You'll see more of that when Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry are getting mad at the Magic for booting them off in the first round.
First round exit, Jackson. First round exit.
I spent a good buck on that. I'll take it. I don't care. You know why? Because Miami's still gonna win. Some way, somehow, Miami's gonna win.
Nick, we gotta go to something else.
Go something else.
Okay, we're gonna. Okay, since we have a good amount of time, I kind of want to talk about this one topic right here. So, as you guys may know, on December 30th, we talked about it in our last show that OG Anunoby was traded to the Knicks, and RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley were big pieces into that trade, and they sent to Toronto. All three of those players have been doing extremely well right now. The Knicks are undefeated with OG, and he's been a massive difference. RJ is back home in Toronto, and I think he dropped like 37 points or something like that in like his recent game. And Emmanuel quickly is getting some starts every single day. But I kind of want to talk about this one quote that RJ Barrett said and his time with the New York Knicks. So he basically said that he will always remember all the times he had for those 4 years with the New York Knicks. And then he also said this that I want you guys to have your opinions on. He goes, I helped build something in New York. When I came there, we weren't good. I left it a lot better than when it started. So I'm going to open up to the room right here. Anyone can start. What are your guys' opinions on RJ making this comment right here?
Owen, you start.
Yeah, I find it kind of funny. He in a way he did. He was involved. He was around throughout this kind of rebuild of the Knicks. But would I say like he was a big part of it? I would no. Jalen Brunson was the most important part of it. He established Knicks as a dominant team in the East. It started with Julius Randle, and I think it was 2018 they signed him, 2019. It started
It was the 2019
then.
season, yeah.
Yeah, so it started with him. He became the All-Star, the All-NBA. Still shows major inconsistencies in the playoffs, but RJ Barrett has not established himself as a top 3 player on a team. The shooting is majorly inconsistent. He can't find a stride ever. It seems like every year, I think I said this last week, the Knicks keep telling me he's going to take a leap. He's going to take a leap, and he's never taken that leap.
He never takes that leap.
I'm sorry. I have a question though, Owen. So Brunson and Randle, I agree with you, were the 2 best players on that team. Who would be the third then during that time? If it
Well, no, it would be RJ Barrett. But I'm saying, did he have that big of an impact? Did he make or break that team? You think he did?
I don't think he made or broke the team. But when you look at what the quote says, I helped build something in New York. He's not saying I built it. He's saying I laid some bricks. I helped. Brunson and Randle did the brunt work, but I helped along. And I came up with these. I went through all his stats during his time there. The records when he was on the team. RJ Barrett played 297 games as a Knick, averaged 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Played 16 playoff games, averaged 18 points per game, 5 boards, 3 assists. So the same stats in both playoffs and regular season. The Knicks made the playoffs in 2012, 2013. That was before RJ Barrett. And I know Brunson and Randle were there, but the Knicks hadn't made the playoffs for about 7-8 years until Barrett came along with Brunson and Randle. They made it in 2020, 21, and then 22, 23. And they made the playoffs twice, made it to a semifinals. He 100% helped build something. If he's an 18-point per game scorer, I think you got to say he helped build something, right?
The reason I would say he didn't build something is because it's not done being built. He left halfway through.
He didn't
the house, the kitchen's done, and the living room's done, but the bedrooms aren't finished.
It's like
nobody's spot is safe on that team right now.
It's like the meme. He crawled. Now the New Yorks did the trade. Now the New Yorks are, walking. It's like that meme. It's like he did.
Yeah, I also think he was a big thing that was holding them back. The Knicks desperate, kind of like almost Zach Wilson. They weren't willing to accept the fact that he isn't the pick that they wanted him to be. They picked him 3rd. 18 points isn't what you want out of a guy you pick 3rd overall. At the first season, maybe a second season, it's good enough. But, look at other top 3 picks: Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Brandon Ingram. These are some of the best scorers across the league, 25 points per game.
Now, yeah. I want to give my opinion right here. As a New York Knicks fan, I would mainly say I agree and also disagree with his comments. Yes, I agree. He kind of started, building the future, I would probably say, about the New York Knicks, building this franchise. But I want to say one person in particular, and it's not a player, it's the head coach. I believe that Tom Thibodeau was a very massive reason for this New York Knicks team to be into the area that they are now. In the season, I believe it was the 2020-2021 season where they were against the Atlanta Hawks. Their starting lineup was Cameron Payne, RJ Barrett, Reggie Bullock, Julius Randle, and I believe the center was Mitchell Robinson. Do you really think that any other coach would bring that starting lineup into a playoff team? Yes, they got crushed by Atlanta. They were a number 5 seed in the regular season.
4 seed.
Four seed, excuse me, because they did have the first 2 games in the Garden. That's insane. I think it's all about the coaching. And also, you can mention that, once Jalen Brunson came in, they started to become like this like team that they are now. But you got to give more. You got to put more centerpieces to Tom Thibodeau for having such great coaching ability to help this team become the New York franchise that they are today. Because that's my personal opinion right there.
That's a good point. And I'll give Jalen Brunson a lot of the credit, but I wanted to say, like, I feel like we sometimes, I don't want to say we overrate Julius Randle, or I feel sometimes he is, because I think Julius Randle is sometimes the problem with this team, because when Jalen Brunson should be bringing up the ball, Randle gets a rebound and says, nah, get the fuck out of my way. I'm going to take this. Starts dribbling the ball up as a power forward and then does some step back shit and yaks up a three that like clanks off the rim. If we're saying Barrett was like, I mean, you know, because when you were saying Barrett was sometimes the issue with the Knicks holding them back, I'd say sometimes Randle was the issue, especially in the playoffs.
I was going to say the playoffs too, yeah.
Randle was terrible in the postseason. Absolutely god-awful. RJ Barrett at least kept his consistency in the playoffs like he did in the regular season. Randle fell way off. So I don't know if we could say that Barrett was that much of an issue when Randle was part of the problem too.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But I would say, to go back to the whole that they're not done building it, Julius is a piece that they probably have to replace within the next 2 years if they want to be serious championship contenders.
Well, he's always in a conversation.
The only piece then that it was Brunson and Thibodeau that helped build something. If we're saying, because while he was, the thing is, yes, he's gone, but while he was there, he did help build something along with those other guys.
Every player involved is a part of the project. But I would say, to add another person to the Brunson and Tom Thibodeau, I would say Leon Rose needs a tremendous amount of credit for this team. He made them serious contenders in the free agent market. The best player the Knicks have ever signed before Jalen Brunson was Amari Stoudemire. They missed out on every top talent, which just shouldn't be the case. Since
what about Joakim Noah?
New York.
Chill.
But in all seriousness, Amari Stoudemire shouldn't be the best player the New York Knicks are signing. It's the mecca of sports. It's New York. They should be bringing in the top targets. They still have yet to bring in a superstar. Jalen Brunson's an all-star. But adding guys like Josh Hart, adding guys like Dante DiVincenzo, and these are the things that are going to push them forward.
OG. And then
adding OG as well. These are the things that are going to push them forward.
I think what we're all agreeing on right now is that tiny pieces are contributing to this process. So I would agree with Tino. Back then, when I saw this quote, I thought the same thing as Owen. I was like, who the fuck are you? You didn't build shit here. But he does add a point, because I do think RJ did lay some bricks down that, you know, Brunson and the other guys doing now. And you think back in 2019, that offseason when he was drafted, do you remember what you Knicks fans wanted that year?
AD, Kyrie,
Zion.
Zion.
I heard all that shit that school year from people. I was like, but yeah, I would definitely give credit. He did do some. I would say Julius Randle had that
Mike,
one really good
watch
season.
your language, bro. Jesus.
Yeah, so I would give credit to RJ because, you know, Julius Randle had that one good season. Was Frank Ntilikina the starting
Frank Ntilikina?
I
believe
he left.
I don't think he started.
Right when Julius Randle got signed, they got rid of him.
Okay, I was gonna say if he had to deal with that, then that's like he's even more
that was
I thought he was.
That was the season where the Knicks said that they were going to be signing all these massive players. They give Julius Randle a massive deal. They gave Marcus Morris like a massive contract, and they also got another forward,
I think they signed Bobby Portis.
They signed Bobby Portis as well, the Bucks legend.
Which was such a weird offseason from them. They signed like 4 power forwards.
Exactly, and there were big
all
deals
that was left. They couldn't get anybody else.
Yeah.
But Jackson, do you have anything else to say? Because I know you've been wanting to say something, but then we accidentally keep cutting you off. But do you have anything else to say? You good?
I mean, like I said, I don't think I said this last time, but when the trade happened, at first I was like, yo, the Knicks are just being the Knicks again. They're gonna suck. And it didn't happen. They start going on this run, and I started coming from my chair and going, hold up, wait a minute. Something ain't right now. Something ain't right. The Knicks are winning. I was like, oh shoot. Wait, whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait 1 second. We might have something at the Garden. There might be something going at Madison Square Garden, ladies and gentlemen. And for those Knicks fans, they're actually, been waiting for something like this to happen. To see them actually clicking, not doing 2 games losing and then going 3 games losing. Nah, it's like they're clicking right after a trade. I didn't see this thing, going to happen. Maybe a couple games later they start clicking. No, it's automatic.
Well, they were already clicking as it was. I remember you mentioned that like the chemistry was already there, and then once they got rid of RJ and quickly, people thought that the chemistry was going to fall off. All they did was just improve better. I mean, they've always been a top a defensive team, but OG kind of improved that, and you also find out like things that they were missing out on. They were missing out on the corner 3. Do you know what OG's very good on? The corner 3, and we saw that last night against the Trailblazers when he was going off.
Look,
so
all I gotta say
overall,
oh my bad. Go on.
No, I was about to say overall, this trade overall for the Knicks and the Raptors, I think the Knicks won the trade, but it was still an even trade overall because RJ's back at home, Emmanuel quickly starting, and he's going to get that big contract. You know he will. And OG is most likely OG is going to sign with the Knicks because he said he wants to sign with the Knicks, but in a small deal, so he knows that the Knicks are going to be pushing for more players. He wouldn't mind taking a cheaper contract.
The only way the Knicks win is if they do extend Anunoby for just a portion of time. They have to extend him because if you give up Barrett and quickly and then he dips, that's
a dumb trade overall. Yes.
Yeah.
If it's a rental, that's going to be very bad for the Knicks. But
exactly.
There was a question I wanted to ask you guys that's based around this trade. Somebody who was not involved in the trade for the Raptors, with quickly joining the team, he was put into the starting lineup, and Dennis Schroeder was moved to the bench. And I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to his season, but he's been playing very well. Probably his best season to date since the Thunder, maybe. And he's even voiced his displeasure, just not being very happy being moved to the bench. He's not very happy with that. So I'm wondering what are your thoughts on that, and if you guys think he might be moved before the deadline to a potential contender, and what do you guys think that would mean for them?
I think that if I was Toronto, I'd probably keep him as a good backup. I mean, I know he's not happy in the role, but like he's a good starting point guard. He's an even better backup. There's potential they could move him at the deadline to a possible contender. But if I was Toronto, I don't know how much I'd actually get back in return for him at this point. So I'd probably just keep him.
Yeah.
I think he's gained that role where he's like kind of been a filler or like a platoon player you call in baseball, where he just fills in that missing point guard spot for teams. And quickly's also younger, so maybe that's the guy they want to go with forward. I know they don't have Van Fleet anymore, right?
No.
So
he's signed with the Rockets.
Yeah.
Quickly's better than Schroeder already. Like Quickly's a better shooter. He's a better playmaker, better ball handler. Like Quickly's better than him.
Yeah, I agree. Quickly, I think Quickly's better. I just found it pretty interesting. They were quick to move Schroeder to the bench, even though he's been performing so well for them.
I think, in my opinion, they're moving towards possibly getting a good trade out of Schroeder because all they're focusing on is becoming a young team. They're already considering possibly trading Pascal Siakam. So you can also consider possibly those two being traded. You're going to be getting massive picks out of that, and then you're most likely going to be building for a future team, and RJ and Quickly are going to be the centerpieces of that. And I think it's guaranteed that Quickly is going to get that max contract that the Knicks were a little bit eager to give him because they were a little bit like stubborn to be like, maybe you're not ready to have type of a Jalen Brunson contract, but we know that Toronto is going to be giving you that, so we'll give you that opportunity.
One thing I could see the Raptors doing that I could see them coming out as winners, because I think if they move Siakam, they're going to be taking a loss on the return. He's expiring. He's going to be moved. They're going to get picks and an expiring contract in return. So I think one thing that they could do maybe is try and package Schroeder and Siakam together and send them to the Kings and try and get Harrison Barnes as the key player, but also Davion Mitchell, get back another point guard who would be more comfortable off the bench, add a little bit more defense behind Quickly, who doesn't really have that defense. I think that would be pretty good for the Raptors if they could get that.
No, I like that. So Tino, were you going to say something very quickly?
I was gonna say, I'm like, we're already talking about the trade deadline moves and moves that could be made. So I was saying we get into that last part of I
Yeah,
gave you.
let's do it right now. So yeah, so last week, we all decided on a specific player that we see possibly getting traded, and see kind of like a shock possibly of like the trade. So Tino, I want to know your picks on who do you think could possibly be dealt in the February 8th trade deadline, and who do you think would be a surprise that you would see possibly getting traded?
Yeah, so I came with a few of them. So I mean, the Raptors, I talked about them. I said they were going to move Siakam, I believe, and I know the Kings have been thrown around, but Siakam's looking for a max contract, and he doesn't see the Kings as a long-term fit because they already do have Sabonis, who plays the 4 at times, and that's just per what Siakam has said. The reason I think he's going to get traded though is because he's the only main player remaining from that 2019 championship team that they when they beat the Warriors, and at this point, I don't really think, and some of you might agree, that he doesn't really fit with this new regime that's coming in now after making this move for Barrett and quickly. A reboot has already taken place at this point. I just don't see him. I don't see him fitting anymore. Plus, his relationship with the front office is it's been rocky ever since that loss to Chicago in the play-in tournament. Masai Ujiri in the front office cut off all communication practically with him. So Siakam has kind of taken that, per the reports from Yahoo Sports, he's taken that as kind of not a sign of disrespect, but almost like a sign that they're kind of getting him like 1 foot out the door at this point, that he's going to get moved. So I think Siakam is somebody that'll go. The Hawks trading DeJounte Murray, I think, is going to happen. I know I saw one of you guys said Trae Young might get moved, possibly, to the Spurs.
Mike.
Yeah, Mike had said to the Spurs. Yeah, I think that if you're going to move one of them, it's going to be DeJounte Murray, because Bleacher Report's Chris Haynes said that the Lakers and Sixers are both interested in acquiring him. And Murray and Young have been ineffective on the court together. There's a 55-62 record as they've been together throughout the last 2 seasons. The Hawks are at negative 1.2 points per 100 possessions when the pair is on the floor, or a minus 1.2, I should say. And they just don't they don't fit well together. A pairing that we thought was going to work when the Spurs initially moved him, I don't think it doesn't fit anymore. So at this point, I would say try to move DeJounte Murray. I think personally, a good fit for him would be the 76ers. I think him and Tyrese Maxey would actually work pretty well together, because DeJounte Murray is a better playmaker than Maxey is. DeJounte Murray, I mean, he's averaged 20 plus points in each of his last 3 seasons. And while he does have the ability to score the ball, he can also help distribute, allow Maxey to play off the ball a little bit more now that Harden's gone. So I think that could be a good fit. And my surprise one, I think, is Pacers getting rid of Buddy Hield. It's kind of been a conversation that's been talked about a little bit, and it's not one of the bigger names in terms of the trade deadline, but it's a move that I think could benefit the Pacers a lot, because what's the one thing they need they don't have? Defense. They are a bottom 3 team in defense. They allow the most points, along with the Pistons and the Hornets, who are 2 of the worst teams in the NBA. The Pacers are a playoff caliber team, and their defense is terrible. They have a lot of other 3-point shooters. They have Benedict Mathurin. They have Aaron Nesmith. They have other wing players that can fill the role that Buddy Hield, gives them. And I think moving him for a 3-and-D player is a must. They have to do it. And because he's older than these other players, it makes more sense to move him and bring up your younger guys, utilize the depth that you have, and move on from Buddy Hield at this point. Plus, no matter who you get, Tyrese Halliburton, he leads the league in assists. He leads the league in threes assisted as well. So they're going to have 3-point shooting regardless if he's there or not. I think that's the move that has to happen, but I think it could be a surprise move, because not a lot of people, in terms of fans and people who watch the NBA, they're not really expecting it to happen, but I think it will.
Yeah, I really like that take with the Buddy Hield one. And even I think a team that we might see blow it up very soon would be the Bulls. And a target that they could go for is Alex Caruso. He would be very good for their lineup, adding more defense. That's what he specializes in. Going to the DeJounte Murray one, though. I can't remember if it was today or yesterday. It was reported the Spurs were interested in bringing him back to the organization. And I was just wondering what you thought about that, since they've been kind of running this big guard with Jeremy Sochan, and it just hasn't worked. His vision is not, I think Sochan he's good at some things on the floor. He's a talented player. But at point guard, the vision is just not there. He's not a
point guard. He's an off the ball player. He's a small forward. He's a not, I don't want to say a 3-and-D player. He's good on defense. He has some ability to score on the offensive end. I would say that responding to the Buddy Hield thing, I mean, because you even mentioned the Chicago Bulls, Zach LaVine is definitely going to get moved as well, but that was a very obvious one that I was like, we know he's getting moved, and possibly even DeRozan as well, because that big three of Vucevic, DeRozan, and LaVine has done. They're not doing anything else. Caruso could be a good piece there, but I think the Hawks sending him back to San Antonio. DeJounte's not he's not that old yet. I think he's like 27, 28. He's like he's entering those years where you kind of go into your prime. And I do think he could benefit the San Antonio Spurs because right now they kind of have a mix of running Devin Vassell, who's more of a 2-guard, a scoring guard, not really a point guard. They're kind of figuring out whether to run him at the 1 or Sohan. Again, we talked about it. Playmaking is not that good. His court IQ is not what you need when it comes to a point guard. They're trying this I don't want to say Giannis, but almost like a baby version of it where you're trying to have a bigger player run the point guard and have this oversized lineup. Doesn't work. I could see DeJounte going back there. Maybe the Spurs end up pairing him, have a nice little trio going with him, Vassell, and Wembanyama. I just personally think that DeJounte would want to go to a contender. And at the end of the day, he's not going to have much of a say because the Hawks are the one trading him. But if I'm DeJounte in terms of where I want to go, and I'm thinking about it from his point of view, I would say the Sixers are definitely a team to look at because, again, you'd be able to have almost, I don't want to say a big 3, but close to it with him, Maxey, and Embiid, and he'd be able to, I think, slot in nicely with those two. But the Spurs would definitely be a good option. I could definitely see him going back there, and I don't think it'd be a bad move. I just think DeJounte would obviously prefer to go to that contender, a top 3 team, 4 team in the East.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think if he can get back to how he was performing with the Spurs before going to the Hawks, he'd be a huge piece for the Sixers. And I think for the Spurs, wouldn't really make sense. They're not in a position to contend or even try to make a move to get them in the playoffs or the play-in game. So I think the best move for them would kind of just to be go through the motions this season, get a lottery pick, and see what happens next season.
Somebody you mentioned, though, Dennis Schroeder, that could be somebody the Spurs go after because Dennis Schroeder can slot in really nicely. And is he a young piece to fit in with them? No, but it's not a long-term move that you'd make.
Yeah.
You can get rid of a piece or two off your bench, bring in Schroeder to have an actual point guard run your offense. And so, if you're talking about a point guard going there, I think when we talk about Dennis Schroeder, he'd be a nice fit to have there, almost like a stopgap point guard for the rest of the first half, second half of the season. He could be somebody that slots in there really nicely. And then that way you're not going out there trying to get, because DeJounte Murray, you'd have to give up you probably have to give up at least 1 draft pick along with a couple of players because he is still a 20-point per game scorer and he's still very talented and he's still on the younger side, again, under 30. I feel like Schroeder would be a better move to go make because you give up less of your assets and you get a very, very, very solid point guard for the rest of the year.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're just getting a serviceable guard so that Wemby can continue to develop because we've seen how good he is already. Yeah. And he hasn't played with a real point guard yet.
Oh, no, not even close to him. Yeah. No, he hasn't.
So once we see him working with a real point guard, I think, the sky's the limit for him.
100%.
All right. So at that time, I think that's a good way to close out our show for today. So, Tino, thank you so much for being on today's show. It was a blast having you. Be sure to follow us on Twitter/X, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, and also check out our website. We're starting to pull up some articles. So, and Tino, do you want to say anything about your account as well?
Yeah, we can. I'll do a little shameless plug. We can throw out my TikTok at SMSports. Join the community, posting content pretty much every day about every kind of sport: college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, you name it. I post everything. Follow SMSports on Instagram. That's all I got.
Awesome. So I'm Nick Antonias, alongside my co-hosts Mike Morrell, Jackson Warren, and Owen Duran, and our special guest Santino Mayone. Excuse me. Thank you guys for watching and have a great day.